Well, welcome to Econ 5203, Managerial Economics. I thought I'd introduce you a little bit to one of the commonalities of this course and other courses you'll take in the MBA program, and that's the use of mathematical notation. In reading English, we note symbols. We see them. These symbols are letters, their sequences become words, and the sequence of letters then becomes sentences, and so we communicate through these symbols. The same is true in mathematics. The symbols that you see provide you with meaning. Math is different, though. It's much more exact in what the symbols mean. It's also much more parsimonious in the use of those symbols. For example, in English, GHOTI is pronounced fish. Typically, you wouldn't be able to interpret that, but if you recall that in the word laugh, L-A-U-G-H, the last G-H sounds like an F. That's just fine. So G-H sounds like F. And if you recall the word women, the O in women sounds like the I in fish. And lastly, TI. How does that become sh? Well, think of the word nation. Very simple. Nation. Well, what's the TA sound like? Sh. And so the TI in nation becomes the sh in fish. So what we have is this sort of confusion of symbols when you write in English. Another phenomena is that sometimes in English, the sequence doesn't actually matter. So if you're looking at the sequence of these words here, you've got, can you read this? Only 55 people out of 100 can. Now, this particular paragraph is a result of some work at Cambridge University on the ability of the mind to adapt to what it can see. And what it can see in this instance is a jumble of letters. However, our mind can interpret them in such a way that we can actually communicate using them. However, that's a good fortune case. It's not necessarily always the case that we're going to find that. So in economics, we tend to use mathematical symbols and we tend to use math quite a bit. And there's a number of reasons we do this. First off, when you use math, you have to clearly define what each symbol means. This reduces the errors in communication associated with interpretation. 2, we have to state up front our assumptions. And a lot of people complain about economics because we constantly talk about assumptions. This is derived from our use of mathematics. But we all use assumptions all the time. For example, last night you didn't state the fact that you assumed the sun was coming up in the morning. If you didn't make that assumption, the odds are pretty good you wouldn't have gone to bed because the opportunity to play was going to disappear almost immediately. Number 3, it requires systematic thinking, or what we call, in other circumstances, logic. You have to do some logical thinking. Now, according to E.A. Mander, thinking is skilled work. It is not true that we are naturally endowed with the ability to think logically and clearly without learning how or without practicing. People with untrained minds should no more expect to think clearly and logically than people who have never learned and never practiced can expect to find themselves good carpenters, golfers, or pianists. Yet our world is full of people who apparently do suppose that thinking clearly and accurately is so easy and natural that nobody need learn how to do it, and that anybody can think, and that any one person's thinking is quite as reliable as another person's thinking. Well, much of economics is about thinking. So we have, if A exists, then B exists, and then C exists, or if A and B exist, then C exists, but not D, whatever they might be. So this logical thinking process allows us to reduce our errors. The fourth reason is data. We are very interested in what's going on in the real world where it's a measurable event. And so we tend to use data, and the way to use data is to think logically. It comes in numbers, and that's why we use math. These symbols will appear again and again in this class.